All right, good morning, everybody. My name is Steve Wisniewski. This morning here, I just want to talk about and show you guys a little bit about advanced selection, what its intended purposes are, what you can use it for, and really just a basic encompassing quick video here on what all it can be used for here. So first off, I guess, what is advanced selection? Advanced selection is essentially just a tool that can be used to quickly query the model just with a piece of Python code that can be then used to select whether that's members, materials, bolts, holes, or welds. And then you can take that selection of members or whatnot and use that in conjunction with other tools. You can use that in conjunction with, I guess, running reports, multi-editing, applying custom properties, saving selection lists, anything along those lines. The other thing that I really like about advanced selection, I think everybody should be aware of, is just some of the benefits of it is going to be that it's going to go through and really help with preventing any type of human error scenarios here. We'll go through and later on in this course here, this webinar, I'll show everybody here a small example of where I may need to go through and select several entities, and if I had to do that manually, it leaves a lot of room for potential human error. While advanced selection is really going to go through and prevent any missteps there of missing a selection or adding extra items to that selection unnecessarily. So first off, when you go through and you want to run advanced selections, you can find those in your edit pull down. You have advanced selection, where it's basically where you're going to go through and you're going to build your advanced selection, and you have an advanced selection run. SDS2 does come installed with several different advanced selections already pre-created for you. We'll go through and I just want to demo a few of these just so you guys are all aware of where they're at and what a few of them might do for you here. So I'm going to start off by going to my advanced selection run. And as we can see here, it'll bring us to our data directory in our advanced selection folder. And from there, like I said, I have several subfolders from there. If I go into the approval folder, I can see I do have a few advanced selections preset up in here. The first one I'm going to run is just going to be a basic bolt diameter selection. Here I can go through, it's going to tell me select members by a bolt diameter. This one's just going to select, like it says, select specific members based on what their minimum and or maximum bolt diameter that's associated with them is. I'll leave the minimum in this first example empty and set my maximum bolt diameter to 3/4 of an inch. This particular advanced selection also has the capability of printing a list, basically just a quick output. I'll generate this here next time. I'll run this one more time here in just a minute. But selecting all members that is a maximum bolt diameter of 3/4 of an inch, I can go through and run that. As you can see here, it runs and selects essentially all the members in my model that meet that criteria. You'll see a few of my members are not selected. If I come down here and take a look at this member, I can see it's using slightly larger bolts on both ends. It's going to be 7/8 inch diameter. So like I said, I can use that essentially just as a limited status display there. I can go through and run that particular advanced selection just to, I guess, get a quick visual here of what might meet a specific criteria. If I run that same advanced selection again, this time here I'm going to set my minimum to 3/4, my minimum to 7/8, and my max maybe 1 inch. I will print the list this time. Here's my output, that printed list that's going to give me. Here it looks like there's only one member that meets that piece of criteria that has either between 7/8 and 1 inch diameter bolts associated with it. It's piece mark B28, member number 29. And if I go into the model, I can see it automatically selected that member from here. And like I said, maybe I want to use that. Like I said, all this is a selection tool. I can come in here. Maybe I want to use stronger bolts here to try to achieve a 3/4 inch bolt diameter on these. Maybe I'll set them to an A490N, and I can reprocess. Check my bolts. Now I'm using 3/4 inch diameter bolts here. So like I said, I can use that to quickly query the model to find a specific entity, something that maybe status display may not have the capability of doing. The next advanced selection that comes installed with SDS2 that I want to just demonstrate here real quick is just going to be a member section size with partial entry. So it's going to be in my approval here. I have member section size partial entry right here. And all this is going to do is going to select members of a specific type, whether it's a beam or column or brace or anything else, that have a specific maybe section type and nominal depth. I'm not too concerned about what the pounds per foot might be here. Maybe I want to find all W12s within my model. Like I said, I don't care if they're 12 by 30 or 35, anything else along those lines. And hit OK. Goes through and mass selects all the W12s within the model. Take note down here at the bottom, I do have 14 items selected right now. From here, maybe I want to multi-edit these. And if you guys are using custom properties, you may want to come in here and specify that the detailer requested verification of the section size and maybe the camber information on that there as well. So like I said, I can use these advanced selection in conjunction with multi-editing here, as we see now in a couple scenarios. Another advanced selection that we can go through and run, and there are other methods of finding this information as well, whether using reports or the search for failed connections, but maybe I want to get a little bit more visual of failed connections within my model. We do also have an installed selection to failed members section by criteria. This one's here going to be a little bit more complex if we were to sit down and look at the code, but essentially we give you this dialog box. You can select which member type you want to search for failed connection, whether it's a beam, vertical brace, and so on. Maybe what sequence of information. I want to look for everything in sequence 4 that's a beam. I'm not worried about the section size, but my maximum nominal depth will say is 10 inches, and I'll use my minimum maximum pounds per foot set as is. From there I can go through. I can see I have 2 items selected. Maybe I want to zoom to fit to those. I can review them, and then from here maybe all I needed to do to achieve my connection on these is we'll go to maybe a minimum setup connection on those. And there we go. Now we have our connection information in there. So like I said, the advanced selection can be used there to I guess, really quick find the entities in the model that meet a very specific piece of criteria. And like I said, we'll go through, and here shortly we'll start building some of our own examples here. But I guess there's a couple other things that everybody needs to be aware of when in regards to how advanced selection is going to work, and what's going to get selected in certain scenarios, and what will not get selected in different scenarios. So when I ran that, and I'll just rerun it one more time just so we can have a quick refresher. My members by section size, I'm looking for W12s. I said I have 14 items selected right now. I can see all 14 of those beams selected right here in my model right now. I'm going to go through and change to my next view here. I'm going to just have the 114.6 elevation open. Notice my depth check is turned on. And I'm going to run the exact same selection. And I'm going to do the same entity. I'm going to select all W12 beams. Notice down here at the bottom I only have 2 items selected. I can see those 2 items right here in my model. So essentially what I'm trying to get across here is that advanced selection will only select what's currently visible within the extents of that view, meaning that if you have your depth check turned on, it's not going to select anything outside of that depth check, or if you've created some type of section cut or created a new elevation view where members might be outside the extents of the points that you selected, if those items are not visible or not there in that particular view, they will not get selected. And as I can see, once I remove my depth check, only those 2 W12s were selected that were beams. When I previously had my ISO view open, I had 14 items selected down here. Another thing to be aware of in the manner of how this is going to function is going to be whether items are stick or solid. How is that going to have a bearing, or will that have any type of bearing on what gets selected or not? I'm going to run one other example here. And if I go back, I have another example set up here for a demo bolt only selection. So here, this particular advanced selection is going to go through and select all my bolts based on what specific diameter they are. So here I can see I have a 3/4 inch diameter bolt set. I'm going to hit OK. I can see down here at my items selected, I have 438 items selected. If I just click delete, I'm not going to delete them, but just to prove the point here, you should want to delete these 438 bolts. I do not. If I turn everything to solid here, I can see that my bolts are selected. So I guess just sort of go down the same road or the same path as before here. The items are stick versus solid, it does not matter. As long as they are within the view, within the extents of the view and within the extents of the depth check, they will still get selected. And further reiterate the previous point, if I remove my depth check now and rotate around, only the bolts that were in that particular elevation view are going to be selected. If I go over here to other particular views, I can see that these bolts, even though they are 3/4 inch diameter, are not selected. So like I said, the two big important points here with advanced selection is one, it will only select current or items or entities that are currently visible in that particular view. Like I said, whether it's make sure it's inside the depth check and inside the extents of the view, and as well if items are set to solid versus stick or stick versus solid, it's still going to select them. Like I said, as long as they're within that view. So we went through and we ran a few of these. A few of the installed ones, one of them that I've created here on my own. Now, how do you get started on, I guess, writing some of your own? Where can you find those different attributes? Just so we have an idea what I'm talking about with attributes, I'm going to go through and I'm just going to load up an advanced selection in there that I've written before. We'll just load that same bolts only selection. And here, very simple item here. We can see that all I'm doing is selecting bolts when the diameter meets a specific criteria in the dialog box. But how do I know, here this is pretty self-explanatory, that diameter is referring to a bolt diameter, but how do I know other attributes such as section size or anything else like that? How do I know, or where can I find those different attribute sets? A very, very simple place to find it is when you open advanced selection, if you go into your help menu, under also see, you have Advanced Selection Dictionary down here. And from here, it's just going to bring up, like I said, a very useful help menu here. You're going to find, especially if you want to start using advanced selection, that you're going to be in this help menu quite a bit, especially until you get used to knowing what all the particular attributes may be. But from here, maybe I want to go through and find something specific. I can either click on one of these links, go to General Attributes for Members, and I can find different items such as the member, here's type, section size, and I can see the exact spelling and syntax that's needed for everything. Same thing here with type. I can go through and it's going to list the values that you can particularly assign to type here, like I said, in beam or column. Here we can see whether it's at the vertical brace. If I'm looking for different member types, should I type in vertical brace? Should I type in V brace or anything else like that? I can see right here. It's telling me exactly what I need to type in, so the system recognizes what it's searching for. And this is just, like I said, a list. I can scroll down and go through all those different items as needed. Same thing. I can use use standard find features in Windows. If I hit Control F. And I can search for specific entities. Maybe I want to find something along the lines of the plate schedule number for columns. I can look for plate schedule, and here's my plate schedule number. We talked briefly here, I just showed you some of the installed report or advanced selections that come with SDS2. If you do refer to this help menu, you're going to see several other examples that you can definitely go through and just copy and paste. Here's an example right now. Maybe I want to select all my columns that have a specific base plate associated with them. Well, all I need to do is just copy this code. And back in my selection list, I'll paste that in there. I'm just going to select members, as I can see up here, that have the type of column. And the left end, that's N0, has an input type description of column plate. And then the plate schedule number here in this situation is set to 0. Maybe I want to change that to 1. I'm going to hit OK. It's going to select all my members that meet that criteria. From there, maybe all those items that had BP2 assigned to them. Here we can see it's plate schedule 2. I'll explain that in just a minute. That needs to change to, for an example, BP3 and go from there. So like I said, you do have your help menu there. It's going to have examples you can copy and paste from. Now, real quick, I just want to bring up What just happened there, or I guess one thing, just so not to confuse anybody here, when I went through and in my advanced selection code, I searched for plate schedule number 1, and it brought up plate schedule 2 in my screen here. If I was to go back to my advanced selection and into my help menu, down here at the bottom, one thing just to be aware of, and this is sort of just the way this is going to work here. If you note, if you look at this note here, it says also note that line 1 in the schedules corresponds to 0 in the script. A lot of times with programming languages, it's going to start at 0 and not at 1. Therefore, in my advanced selection code, if I put in 0, that's going to mean plate schedule number 1. If I put in 1, that's plate schedule number 2, and so on down the road. Like I said, I just don't want to cause any confusion there on that. Now, so that's just another quick example there. A few other things that I've set up here. I just want to show you guys just some of the other power that the advanced selection potentially have for you, and what type of benefits it really could have for you. Right now, I do have the option to use member mark for member main material and model turned on, as you can see. And I don't know, I'm sure some people here ran into different scenarios where I went through, have a miscellaneous member in my model, and I've copied it, mirrored it, and checked the option to keep existing piece mark. Well, as you know, with that particular option turned on, my main material mark may not line up. So here I have a set of M98s on both sides of this beam. These ones here on the left were my original ones, and I just went through, copied, and mirrored them, kept existing piece mark to get them over here to the other side. Well, maybe I need to go through, and like I said, maybe there's several of these within the job. I need to go through and find all my members where the member mark does not match, or the material mark does not match the main member mark. I'll load up the particular code. I have this pre-written, and if you want any, I guess these examples that I've ran that's not in the approval folder, you can go ahead and contact me here afterwards. I can always send them to you. But I have one here for major minor mark differences. Very basic advanced selection here. I'm just going to select when any of my select members when my main material is true and my piece mark does not equal my minor mark. And in this scenario here, I'm only going to select when my member type is a miscellaneous. So from here I can run that. I can see I have those particular miscellaneous members selected. I can see that my material mark on those are M106 of M98. And maybe I want to edit all those. And let's just remove the piece mark, because it is a user piece mark, to have it reassign a system assigned piece mark. From there, if I edit one of those members, I can see I have a system assigned piece mark again. And my material mark now matches my my member mark here in this scenario. So like I said, just another use there of finding different entities within my model using the advanced selection. Another example that I want to show you, and this may not be as common of a problem that you guys may run into, but I have had this request here and there, like I said, a few times. Every once in a while, somebody will have a question on how this is possible, but every once in a while, like I said, there may be times where you're instructed on a galvanized job to take your main material holes and oversize them. We'll say for a 3/4 inch bolts, you normally get a standard round 13/16 diameter hole. Somebody down the line is telling you they want all those holes in the main material, in my column or in my beam material and so on, to be oversized, maybe 7/8 inch diameter. I know if you do talk to the AGA, they're going to tell you that is not necessary, but like I said, I have had requests on how to go through and do so. A little bit of a rhetorical question here, but is there any setup that's going to be able to control your hole type, or for that matter the diameter, in your main materials in regards to system connections? The answer here is going to be no. We can definitely control the information on hole information on your clip angles or on your shear plates and so on, but as for your hole type and hole information in main material, it's always going to be standard round, and it's going to be just the slightly increased diameter versus the bolt diameter. So this is going back to the very beginning when I mentioned that advanced selection can be used to easily go through and select items and avoid a lot of human error, at least leave out the potential for human error. So I'm just going to run just a quick example in this one scenario. So I have a column, a couple beams, and a brace framing in here. If I select only the holes, I can see I have right now, and I got a couple of the holes for this brace down here, 87 items selected. Now I do have holes in my connection material selected here as well. Like I said, I don't want to touch those, but I do have 87 holes selected right here, just in this one particular example. Now multiply that across this entire job, and this is a little bit smaller job compared to what most of you guys are probably going to be running into as well. So you can see that I have a room for, I guess, a lot of potential human error of either missing some holes to select or adding extra holes. And on top of that, like I said, I only want to select main material holes, so now I need to come through and potentially deselect items like this. Just like I said, it leaves one very time-consuming process here, and it leaves a lot of room for potential human error. So there's got to be an easier way to accommodate for this. Well, there is. If I go in, and I'll show you guys the code here as well, I have a basic advanced selection. And that's going to select main material holes. So here, like I said up top, I'm setting it to select holes. When the bolt diameter meets a specified diameter in a dialog box, and the hole must exist in the main material. And the hole type here is set to 0, which is going to be a standard round. And the type of member, maybe I only want to have this apply to columns or only beams, is going to be an entity specified in the dialog box here as well. Real quick here, like I said, when we talk about this hole type, it's set to 0. What is 0? How do you as a user of STS2 know what 0, what that index is, what hole type that's pointing towards? Same thing, I'm going to open up my advanced selection dictionary. In my holes, I have my hole type right here. 0 is standard round, 1 is short slot, 2 is oversized, 3 is long slot, and so on down the line. So like I said, if you do need to find that index information, because I cannot just type in standard round or short slot, you have to use the index information, such as 0, 1, 2, 3. Make sure to refer to your help menu so you do specify the correct type of hole. So back to my particular example here, we're selecting all holes in main material with specific diameter. So here, like I said, I want to select all my holes when the bolt diameter is 3/4 inch in my columns, for example. From here, I can hit OK. I can see now I have 350 items selected, 350 holes selected. From there, like I said, if I do need to oversize all these, I can right-click, mass edit all of these. I do have my depth check turned off here, so I selected every hole in the job that met that criteria. From here, maybe I just want to change the hole diameter 7/8. Hit OK. And now if I was to go back and edit one of those holes, I can see that my hole diameter is here set to 7/8. The one thing, just so everybody's aware of as well, like I said, that was just a graphical operation. I just manually changed those holes. If I was to edit my item, I can see that my columns are set to user main material. So like I said, just an example, but I want everybody to be aware that doing different things and that mass multi-editing will still cause items to become graphical, graphical connections, and so on. So we went through, showed a few different examples. Another item here that ties directly in really with advanced selection is going to be your by expression selection filter. I'm going to talk a little bit about that and what the benefits of this could be for us and how to use it. For the most part here, everybody's probably used your selection filter in one way or another, whether you're looking to specifically select members or materials. Here previously I set that to holes, so I only selected holes. Down at the very bottom of this, you have an item in here called by expression. If you load up by expression, it's just one, it's going to carry over my code for my advanced selection. I'm going to clear that out and set it back to members. And really what this by expression selection filter is going to do is essentially just like the selection filter operates any other way. It's only going to allow you to select based on the specific criteria you specify within this dialog box. So like I said here, maybe in this example, I want to go through and I want to find and only be able to select maybe members that have a section size that start with maybe a W18 or anything else like that. Well, first off, well, how do I know what attribute to use? I'm going to first go into my help menu so I know what section size is. Oops. Cancel out of there. I'm just going to my advanced selection one just to easily get to the area I need to be. It's an attribute for a member. Here's going to be my section size callout. And notice it is a string, so we want to make sure we do put that within quotes. And here is a good example. I could just copy and paste that to where I can see the starts with field there. Okay, I'm going to clear that out, set that back to members. Down at the bottom, based on what you want to particularly have selected, you're going to see different items down here. Right now, with it set to select by members, it's going to say use M to refer to the member. Basically, when we're using a member attribute, you need to put M period to start off because we're referring to its member. M period dot section size. And then being Python, I'm going to set double equals. And actually, I want to do starts with, so maybe I'll go dot starts with. And we'll go W18 and go from there. Hit OK. Notice nothing got selected automatically. Like I said, all this is my selection filter. But now if I was a window around my model, notice here it's only allowing me to select particular W18 members. It's not allowing me to select anything else, such as this channel here. And if I multi-edit, if I edit one of those members just to prove it, my section size here is a W18 by 35. So like I said, I can use that by expression, and I could code that in there, much more complex scenarios there if I needed to. Okay, another thing to be aware of with the by expression, I put in the code, it starts with W18. Maybe now I want to change that to starts with W12. Well, how do I get that to come back up? Notice here, if I go to by expression again, it does not come up. Maybe I change that back to default and then back to by expression. It still doesn't come out. To be able to change that particular dialog box. Well, in order to get that dialog box to come back up so you can change that expression, you need to add a new item onto your toolbar. Under your toolbar config, in the command group for selection, you have set selection filter expression. You need to add that to your toolbar. From there, if I go through and load that up, I can see it's now brought this up, and I can change this up as necessary. Maybe I want to search for all W12s in this example now. I can come in here, make my window around them, and go from there. Now, the other nice thing here a little bit about the by expression, and for that matter, the advanced selection, is it will go through and do some different checks for you here if you do distort it, or if you do mess up on writing a little bit of the code here. The first example that I'm going to go through and run is if I go through and maybe I have incorrect syntax here. I come in here and I forget to put in my closing quotation mark. If I hit OK here, I'm going to get this warning that comes up in the line while scanning string literal. And you can see it's just going to go through. Like I said, check for a quick syntax and says it's got a problem here and I can't run on it. And it's going to go through and flag the line that's in question. Now, one thing here, and I know I'm sure it's hard for everybody else to see now, when you do get those different syntax checks like that and it brings this up, it's going to highlight that string of text there in a vibrant red color. It can really make seeing that text in the background tough to see. Without knowing exactly where my problem is, I don't want to start deleting items or anything else. If you just put your cursor in there and hit the left or right arrow on your keyboard, it'll clear that red banner off of there so you can see your text a little bit more clearly. I can see now I forgot my quotation mark. I put that back in, and I'm back to a workable state. Now, same thing here. Let's do another check here just so everybody's aware. Let's say I'm going through and I'm typing this code in, and I accidentally put in an extra E in there to section size. I go through and run that, and I'm going to get this big warning here. It's going to basically just tell me that no attribute section size exists. I hit OK. As soon as I move my mouse again, it's going to keep on bringing up that same warning. The only way to clear this is to, before you hit OK to that, otherwise it's going to keep on coming up, go into your selection filter expression, find where the problem is. I can see no attribute section size with two E's exists. It's most likely going to be my problem. I'll fix the error. And now I'm back to a workable state again where I'm no longer getting those warnings. So like I said, you do have the by expression selection filter there available for your use. Let's start off now. I want to go through, and we're going to start. I just want to build a couple basic advanced selections here. Sort of walk everybody through the steps that might be needed for this. This first advanced selection I want to go through and run is going to be really it's just going to go through, and I want to select all my columns in my model that might be in a specific sequence that are set to be galvanized, for an example. To start off, I'm going to load a particular status just so everybody can see. I do have a galvanized status set up here. If I apply that, I can see that everything here in red is going to be galvanized, and then as well it's going to be sequence 1, 2, 3, and then 4 is down here in the orange. So like I said, I want to build an advanced selection. It's going to select members based on their member type, whether or not they're galvanized, and whether or not they're in a sequence or not. So let's clear this code. First thing here, like I said, I'm going to start by building this. I need to go with my M period because I'm going to refer to the member. I want to find all members of a specific type. If I load up my help menu again, I can see under general attributes for members, here's type. And here's what I'm going to be looking for, a column. So I'm going to say m.type equals, it's a string, so make sure to put it in quotes. Column, it is case sensitive as well, so make sure you do have it spelt with capital C and everything else lowercase. As you become a little bit more proficient with writing advanced selection or Python, you may not have to test this as thoroughly, but what I recommend doing, especially for starters, is test your code as you write it. So, do I have this first line of code here correct? Let's just hit OK. Looks good to me. It's went through and selected all my members that are columns. Well, now I want to go through and say, if my members are column, and the option for them to be galvanized is set. Well, how do I find galvanized? I showed you that I could use the advanced selection dictionary. Another way you can easily find items for advanced selection, if I edit my member, so this is going to be a member item here, I can see I have a galvanized checkbox that is turned on. If I go into my help menu from there, and I select galvanized, a lot of times for several of your options, for report writer and for advanced selection, you're going to see down at the bottom there in sort of a green, it's going to tell you what the advanced selection code is for that. So here for advanced selection for galvanized, it's just m.galvanized. And from here I can copy and paste that. So I'm going to paste that in there. But before I go through and paste that in there, I do need basically a conjoining. I just need the type of member has to be a column, and m.galvanized. This is a checkbox or a Boolean, so I'm going to set that equal to true. Just went through, limited my selection down a little bit more. I noticed I don't have the column selected in the background. Like I said, I'm just testing it as I go. The final item I want to add to this, we'll take it a little bit more complex on this one. I want to select when the sequence is going to be basically in a list of different sequences. So I'm going to say and m dot. I can refer back to my help menu if I want. Here's erection sequence. If you do notice in here, you may also have items there within parentheses. You can use seq_num as well. It's just going to be a shorter string of text for you to type in or copy in. I'm going to use the full text here of erection sequence. Paste that in there. And I want to say that's got to be in. I'm going to create a list here, sequence 2 or sequence 4. From here, I can go through, I have those particular members selected. I can see now that those are just the 4 members or 6 members here that exist in sequences 2 or 4 that are column and that are galvanized. From there, maybe I want to go through and run a report on these. Like I said, I need to get the weights of all my galvanized members that are columns in these sequences so I can send them out for fabrication or whatnot. With those items selected, like I said, using advanced selection in conjunction with other tools, maybe we want to run another report. I have a galvanized members report. All this report's going to do, based on what I have selected in the model, give me my piece mark, the quantity of that particular piece mark that's selected, and then the weight of those individual members, and as well my total weight down here at the bottom. So like I said, using the advanced selection there in conjunction with other tools of SDS2. Another tool maybe I want to use, like I said, I'm getting ready to send these out for fabrication. I need to download my CNC files specifically for these few members. You can use advanced selection then to in turn create selection lists for yourself. With those items selected here, I can go to my edit pull down, and I have a save selection field, and it's going to save it in my jobs in this list folder. I'll call it galv calls, and then go 2-4 sequences 2 and 4 on that, and hit save. So that's all it is. Went through and saved that, and then from there, like I said, maybe I need to download my CNC files for those particular members. I'm going to go into there. Here I can just load, select my entities, selected the 4 piece marks here of those members that I just saved off this selection list, and from there I could download them as needed and go from there on downloading my CNC files using that selection list. Like I said, all in use in conjunction of the advanced selection filter there. Finally here, all my demos here for the most part have been selecting members. Let's make it just a little bit more complex. I just want to have everybody be aware, if you want to go through and then select materials, what's going to get selected and what might change here on some of that. So I'm going to go through and write an advanced selection. Let's clear this out. Oops. Let's clear that out. And like I said, right now, with it set to select members, it says use M to refer to the member. If I change that to material, it's going to say use MT to refer to the material for the different attributes and M to refer to its member. So as my first example, I can use member attributes or I can use material attributes. Let's say I want to search for everything in my model that meets a member attribute for material. So I'm going to say m.section size equals, maybe you'll go a W10 by 12. Notice down here in the hip and valley area, it's went through and selected, I guess, all those entities down here. Now I just want everybody to be aware, I do not have my my members selected here. Essentially, I have my material selected, and all that code did is it went through and did exactly as I told it to do. It selected all my materials that are associated with any member that has a section size of W10 by 12. If I click delete, I can see I only have my 24 materials selected. I did not have my members selected. So like I said, just be careful of that if you are selecting materials and you want to select a specific material, you use the material information and not the member information, because otherwise you're going to select everything associated based on that member information. So if I want to select my material, specifically W10 by 12s, I'll start off with MT. Now I could type in section size under the idea that it could be the same. When I do so, it's going to say no attribute section size for the model object. It's telling me that I'm using the wrong entity here. If I go back to my help menu and go to my advanced selection dictionary, like I said, I'm going to be looking for information about material. Under general information, I have right here imperial description, which is going to be essentially what we're going to be looking for in regards to materials. So I'll just copy and paste this, change section size to mt.imperial description equals W10 by 12. Now you can see I only have the W10 by 12 selected. I do not have the attached clip angles or any other attached material to that. Here I can see I just have the 8 materials selected down at the bottom as well. So like I said, just something to be aware of with the members, or I guess when selecting materials using a member attribute versus a material attribute. One more example that I just want to go through and show is going to be, I want to write a quick advanced selection that's in turn going to go through and select all my materials that are plates that that meet a specified dimension of thickness and that maybe do not have any holes associated with them. I'm going to run one more. I'm going to leave it set to material. In this regard here, I'm going to start off my, I'm going to select on a specific material type, so I'm going to go MT. Well, maybe if I don't remember or don't know what the use is, what I'm looking for, I can scroll down. Here's going to be material type. Like I said, I want to find all my plates. I'm just going to use plate material here. So material type, plate material, back to my model, mt.material type equals plate material. Just to make sure that works. Like I said, I'm going to test periodically. I can see, okay, I've selected all my plates that meet a specified thickness. I'm going to say and mt.thickness, and I'll say this has got to be less than. This is going to be a dimension field I'm going to enter in. So for those of you familiar with parametrics or Python, I'm going to go dim, and we'll say less than 1 inch. Let's run that again. Notice it did remove some of my base plates from that selection. Like I said, I want to filter this all the way down to, now there's no holes in that material as well. So from here I'm going to say and mt.hole count is just going to be less than 1. Now same thing with thickness and hole count. If I didn't know what those were right off the bat, I could always go to my advanced selection dictionary and find those two specific attributes. From there I can run it. I can see I've greatly narrowed down my selection here. I only have 5 items selected, and it looks like it's all just going to be these essentially vertical plates here for my joist seats. From here I can go through and multi-edit those. Maybe I have a custom property that's going to be set up for them that's going to specify for no holes. And then from there, maybe I want to go through and detail my member. For those of you familiar with custom properties, you can have for members and materials custom properties set to map to the remarks column of your bill of material. If I edit this particular bill of material, I can see now for that particular plate, I have a remark in here saying that there's no holes associated with this particular plate. Once again, just showing advanced selection, its main purpose is to go through and select items in the model to be used in conjunction with other tools within SDS2, such as custom properties and running reports. Now I want to add just one final thing to that particular advanced selection we just wrote. Maybe this time, instead of saying that the hole count's got to be less than 1, I'll say maybe it's got to be less than and equal to 3. And I'm going to tie in material attributes with a member attribute, and my member type has to be a beam. So here I'm going to select all my plates that are less than 1 inch thick, that have less than 3 holes, or less than or equal to 3 holes, and it has to be on a member of a beam. Here I can see it went through, reduced that. I got 22 plates selected in my model. Got some gusset plates. So if I just come over here, I can see I have some different shear plates selected and so on along those lines. If I was to come back in here, maybe I only wanted to select items that had a material use of shear plates that had less than 3 holes in my model. I can always add that to this code as well. I believe I typed that in there right. Material use and shear plate. Here I can say I have 12 items selected that the shear plate is associated with the beam. It's less than 1 inch thick and has less than or equal to 3 holes. I can go through multi-edit, detail those, send those out for CNC, do whatever else I need to do in conjunction with having them selected. So I guess in conclusion here, really, I hope you guys all got to see the benefits and the potential of using advanced selection, how it can, I guess, one, be used in conjunction with other tools, whether that's running reports, mass editing, mass deleting for that matter, going through assigning custom properties, really like I said, anything that you want to do where you just need to select a great amount of entities. And then as well, like I said, the other real benefit that I like out of it is that it's going to go through and prevents any type of, or help prevent any type of human error with, like I said, showing selecting those holes, and therefore, I guess, increasing productivity and decreasing the amount of human error that you may run into. If anybody here does have any questions on writing an advanced selection or creating or altering any existing advanced selections, please feel free to contact your support representative either by phone or email, and we'd be gladly to help you out. You guys have a great day. Bye.